Hey guys, I started to make lasagna and then I realized I should actually film this. So today I'm making lasagna, homemade, and I will walk you through it. It's really good and really easy. First thing we're gonna do, I have my pan on. I have a little bit of olive oil in here. Actually, it's vegetable oil because I'm out of olive oil. And I have that on. Gonna saute up some onions with my meat. I'm gonna use about like that much. I'd say that's a solid cup of onion chopped up. I'm gonna use sweet Italian sausage as my meat. That's what I always use for lasagna or spaghetti, stuffed shells, all those things. I just like the flavor better. There's nothing wrong with using ground beef, ground chicken, whatever you want to use. I ended up with the links this time, which you do get just a splash more meat if you buy links versus a pound of ground meat. And you can just cut right into the casing and dump it out into your pan, which is what I will show you we will do. I'm sure you've seen this before. It isn't difficult to do. And if that's what's on sale or that's what they've got, you know, that's what you should use. You're just gonna cut into it lengthwise, and then the casing will just come right off. Let me see that. The casing will just come right off. So before I do that though, I do need to season my onions that I got in the pan. I mean, I guess I could season it all together, but I like to season it once it goes in. Just a little pepper and a little salt is all I usually go with when I am doing my onion. My cat loves outside, which is shocking because lasagna is usually one of his favorite things to be involved in, right, Nub? Nub has a little board he sits on outside because we have so much snow right now. So that's what he does. He goes outside and sits on his board. He had a path until this morning. Then we got so much snow that, you know, he can't really get out there. All right. So then we're just kind of, I got this on about medium heat. Getting it sweating. While it's sweating, this is when you do your meat. I should probably move you closer, I suppose. I don't know if I can do that actually because the way my camera setup is. Anything you need to see up close, I'll show you. See? Comes right off. Just like that. And then you do that with the rest of the links. All right, guys. Meat is in the pan. As you can see, I just like kind of break up the meat a little bit. I want the meat to brown up. It's much easier to do with ground sausage than when it's in link form. But it's fine. This works fine. Just smash it down a little bit in there. I used to have one of those things, you know, those meat smashers. But my grandson, he likes to play with my everything in the kitchen, and things go missing. Things end up behind the couch, in his toy box, taken home. You know, you guys with little kids or grandkids, you know how that goes. So we're just going to keep cooking this meat until it browns up. I do season the meat though also with a little pepper. Basically, you're seasoning the other, you know, the different layers. I do not add more salt because, you know, this is sausage. Basil. This is just dried basil. Maybe like a teaspoonful of that. measure with your heart on all these ingredients. If you don't like something, don't put it in. If you like something else that I don't have in here, add it. I mean, that's really how it is with all food, right? That was garlic. Onion powder. There is onion in yet there, but I do like some onion powder as well. And then sometimes I add this, sometimes I don't. Today I'm going to. Just a little bit of red pepper flake. I do not like things too spicy, so I do not add too much. And then we're just going to cook this. We're going to cook it, we're going to flip it, we're going to keep moving it around the pan until it's all cooked and brown, and then we'll come back. Okay guys, I got my meat done. It is nice and brown. I am not going to drain that grease, y'all. I leave all that grease in the meat for lasagna because it is good flavor and it will be really yummy in the lasagna. So I'm just going to let that sit there while we put our other layers together. In this bowl, see, this is what I started before I decided I would film. I have, you can't even see, it's not even looking great, but it's 2 eggs, okay? Some Italian seasoning, a little garlic powder, and some black pepper. I just give that a little mixy. And then I'm going to add in 16 ounces of ricotta. It's not very pretty. It just plops out there kind of gross. You know what I mean? But you can use cottage cheese. I know a lot of people like to do cottage cheese. It's not for me as far as lasagna goes. I prefer the ricotta. Then you need about 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup of whatever kind of Parmesan you like. I have to be honest, I usually use the sprinkled cheese, as one of the other people I watch says. Just smash that up a little. And then about 2 cups of shredded mozzarella. I shred my own cheese. I really recommend doing that for lasagna because it's just going to melt so much better. But you don't have to. Like, you're not going to eat a bite of this lasagna if it was made with bagged cheese and say, you're not going to know at all. Okay? But I just like to because I have that fancy cheese grater, guys. So then you just mix this up. Now you can add more mozzarella, more ricotta, more Parmesan. If you like a real dense, bunch of cheese layers in this. This is what I usually do. Sometimes I add a little more. Also, sometimes I add 2 pounds of meat. If I'm going to have my daughter's family over too for dinner, I usually will do 2 pounds of meat. Of course, that makes my dish filled to the very brim. But you can do it. You guys always put meat in your lasagna. I do. I know some people are. They just like a cheese lasagna. I would really love to make one with chicken and like an Alfredo sauce, spinach and all that. There's no one in my house who would eat that. My youngest son might. What can I say? So there it is, all mixed up. That's our cheese layer. Then this is my grated mozzarella that I grated today. So the next thing we're ready to do is get our baking dish. I use a 13 by 9, just glass. I usually grease it. If you have a spray, you can use that. I'm out of spray right now. So I'm gonna grab a paper towel and my butter here and just give it a quick grease. Just real fast. It's just really to make sure that you can get it out of the pan, It's not usually too hard. Like if you forget to grease it, you'll probably be able to get it out okay. There's enough fat with that sausage and everything, but just for an extra measure, just a light layer. And that's where we start. I have 2 jars of sauce. Whatever sauce you want, okay? It really doesn't matter. This is semi-homemade, obviously. I'm not making my own sauce. Although I have, but not for this. This one is the Rayo's, however you say it, roasted garlic. This one is just my regular store Kroger tomato basil. That's the one I like. I will not use both of these because I am not a fan of overly saucy lasagnas. I usually only use about 1 jar, maybe slightly more. But if you are someone who likes a lot of sauce, then, you know, add more sauce. I usually put about a cup of sauce in the bottom to start off the lasagna. This Kroger sauce is very thick. I usually add a little bit of water and shake that up just to loosen it. But a little bit to the bottom, about a cup of sauce, spread it out. And then you get your lasagna noodles out. You can use whatever kind you want. Now, I use the, I don't want to say I use the no-cook because any lasagna noodle can be no-cook. You don't have to specifically get the ones that say no-cook. But you can cook them. You know, if you like to cook your noodles in advance, do that. Today we're using the Kroger lasagna noodles. I actually like the Barilla ones a lot, but I'm out of those. So we're just going to use the Kroger ones today, which is, you know, your basic, everyone's lasagna noodle with the little ridges, right? I'm going to put down however many you need to cover the bottom of your pan. If you need to break it because you're using a smaller pan, that's fine. They don't need to be whole. You want them to overlap just a slight bit. I usually break to fill in this end part. Like I said, who's gonna know if your lasagna noodles are broke or not, right? They're gonna cook in there, it's gonna be so yummy. All right, layer 1. First thing we do is a little bit of this big cheese mixture. You're going to use this cheese mixture for 3 layers. So you kind of want to go a third when you're scooping it out so that you make sure you have enough for each layer. My hands are clean, y'all. You know these noodles, they like to move around. My oldest son, he tells me to stop saying y'all because I'm not Southern at all. I'm from Wyoming, as you may know if you watch me already. And right now I live in Ohio and have for the past jillion years. And so where I get this y'all, I don't even know. But it's just something I say. It's who I am. I'm just fancy that way, I guess. I also can do a pretty killer British accent. I'm not gonna even lie. That was from many years of watching the Vampire Diaries and the originals and Ned and Stacy, if you watch that show. All the good shows with the British actors and stuff. First layer's on. Next, we're gonna go with half of our sausage. Grease and all. Just sprinkle it everywhere. Guys, if I screw this up, just bear with me because I'm not used to talking when I'm making something this complicated. It's not complicated, don't get me wrong, but you know, it has layers and things. But if you are making this and you screw it up and forget to add a layer or whatever, it doesn't matter, guys. Just get it all in the pan, however you want. That's all that matters. Just get it in there. All right, then we're gonna open up our bag of cheese. We're gonna about a good handful of your mozzarella. You can certainly use other cheeses, and I have before. If I want to go ahead and make a lasagna and I realize that I didn't actually have enough mozzarella, I've used cheddar. I think I've even used Swiss before. It's all fine. It all works out great. Next, a little bit of sauce. Now, put as much as you like. For me, I just use a little because like I said, I don't like it too saucy. Just a little. Over there. And then we're ready for our next layer of noodles. I'm surprised that Nub hasn't gotten up here. He went outside a little bit ago. He actually likes the snow. Likes might be pushing it, but he has fun out there. He runs and jumps through it. He's a strange cat. I don't know what to say. Lasagna noodles flying. Next, we're going to do another third of our cheese mixture. Now this is just going to be in the middle. We're not going to put any meat on this one. Our middle layer is just the cheese. Again, we're going to spread it out. And you try to get it spread out kind of evenly, but it really doesn't matter because as it cooks, you know, it's going to warm up, loosen up, melt into all the little nooks and crannies. Everything's going to expand. It's going to be great. So do not be afraid of making lasagna, guys. I mean, seriously, it's not a big deal. Just slow down, take your time. I will say this. If you make this lasagna recipe, the total time it takes is almost 2 hours. From very beginning of starting to cook your onions and meat to where you're taking a bite. Because you have to understand, there's the cooking time, there's the browning time, you know, for your top cheese, and then there's the cool off time. Because you don't want to jump into this right out of the oven. You let it set up just a little bit, about 15-20 minutes to cool off, and that's when it's really good. Okay, so we have that. Another little bit of mozzarella. So, you know, it's not something you probably want to do if you're, you know, working on a weeknight necessarily, but you can prep this a little bit. Have your cheese grated. You could even cook your meat up. Then it would take, you know, a lot less time. Next, a little more sauce. Remember, the sauce that you're putting in here, it's for the noodles, which, you know, you have not cooked, which will cook. So you do have to be sure you get enough sauce in there. Next, we're going to go with another layer of noodles. I kind of push them down a little bit. If you had a deeper lasagna pan, you wouldn't necessarily have to do this. But mine is, you know, it's probably 2.5 inches or so. So I just push it down a little bit. This is the last of the cheese globs. Guys, it's Friday. What are your plans for the weekend? Who's watching the Super Bowl? And what team are you rooting for? Do you have any Super Bowl parties that you're going to? Are you bringing food? Are you just eating food? We're just gonna stay home, I'm pretty sure. I don't even think anybody's gonna come over. Just gonna be us. My oldest son's team is not in it. So he's, you know, not as interested in it as I am because I like the Patriots. And like I said, if you do not have enough cheese, just spread it around the best you can. That was the last of our cheese in there. Now we're going to do the last of our meat. Just sprinkle it around. I realize that the TV is really loud in the other room, so hopefully you can hear this fine. I've also got my radio on. Like I said, I wasn't actually going to film this just because it didn't occur to me. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I've even started it one other time. But then there was just so much going on I had to stop. And I haven't had a chance to make it since then. All right. Grease and all, y'all. This is lasagna. This is not any kind of healthy version, full fat, full cholesterol, full heart attack. All your meat's on there. Next thing you're going to do, another little layer of shredded mozzarella. You don't have to use this much cheese. You can use more cheese. It's kind of a measure with your heart. We like a lot of cheese here, so I do use a lot. More sauce. Forgot which sauce I was using. Doesn't really matter. This one sauce is really runny, and then I have my other sauce, which is really thick. Last layer. If you don't have enough noodles, like I don't, because I just don't. I also have some, though, in a jar here, which will help us out. And if you don't have any more, who cares? So this is all on there. Kind of press it down if you need to. See how high up that is on the pan. And now we have to do our final layer of cheese and sauce. So that's what we're going to do first. Sauce. I'm going to finish this one. And I'm going to need a little bit of this. Just going to add a little bit of water into this. Like I said, it's so thick. It's almost the consistency of between a sauce and a tomato paste. I usually, on this top layer, I usually just glob it on and then kind of spread it around with my spoon. Because basically on that top one, you're wanting to be sure to get all the noodles covered in a little sauce. That's what you're doing. Now, if your noodles are already cooked, obviously that's going to be less important. But if you are using the non-cooked noodles like myself, you want to be sure and get enough sauce on there so that those top noodles will get cooked. Now we're going to cover this once we get the cheese on with tinfoil for the first hour. It's going to go in a 375 degree oven, guys. I think that's good enough. So make sure your oven's on, which I did not, so I'm going to turn mine on. Fingers crossed that our oven works today. And then we're going to cover it with some cheese. Lasagna is a messy thing, especially at my house because I'm not the neatest cook. I usually get cheese all over the floor, which the cats love, sauce all over everywhere. But you know what? I've always thought that the more messy a food is, the better it tastes. You know when you get those big sandwiches that are all juicy and drippy, or just a good chili or something? You know how messy those can be. But they're so good, right? As much cheese as you want. Basically, I put enough cheese on there that I don't see too much of the sauce. I would say, on average, I use about 8 cups of mozzarella for the whole dish, usually. Try to get that cheese, make sure the cheese is in your bowl, or your dish, I should say, just for cleanup purposes. Then I usually sprinkle it with some more Parmesan cheese. A little bit of dried parsley, which has no flavor at all, but it looks pretty. That's my theory anyway. makes it look more authentically Italian. And just FYI, I didn't say this before. In no way do I claim this to be authentic in any way. This is just my version of lasagna. And that's the way I like it. Now we're gonna cover it with tinfoil. So I gotta go get my tinfoil. All right, guys, cleaned up my counter a little bit so that you can see. Where's my camera? This is it. It's all covered and ready to go. We're going to, not covered, but it's all done. We're gonna use a little tinfoil here, and the reason for that, I usually use 2 pieces. The reason for that is if you don't, you're gonna end up burning the top of your lasagna before it's cooked all the way through. And nobody wants to do that. Now you go over the side, take it around. This is a loose cover, guys. You do not want it to be tight, because if it's tight, your cheese is going to stick to the top. Now I know that some people spray their tinfoil, excuse me, before they cover their food. This is something I just saw recently, and I would do that today, except as I told you before, I have no cooking spray. So this is how it looks. Okay, it's very loosely covered, and then we're just going to put it in our oven. My oven looks like we are at the right temperature, but that's really hard to know for sure. I'm going to say by the way it feels right here that it isn't. So I'm going to turn it off and try again. Hopefully your oven works just fine. So, okay, once you get it in the oven, it's going to cook at 375 with the tinfoil on it for, at least in my oven, about an hour. If your oven you feel cooks faster, you can check it sooner. If you open your oven and you hear it like sizzling or bubbling in there, it's probably real close to getting to the point where you can take off the tinfoil. The way I check it is after my hour has elapsed. It's Dean, everyone. I peel back the tinfoil and I will take a knife or a fork, it doesn't matter. Stick it in the middle, let it stand in there for a minute, not a minute, a few seconds, pull it out and touch the part that was in it. If the part of the knife that was in the lasagna feels really hot, then it's ready to be uncovered. If it's not, then it still needs to cook some more. That's the way I do it. And then once it gets to the point where I can uncover it, I take all the tinfoil off, I put it back in the oven for about 10 to 15 more minutes. At this point, you're just looking to brown the cheese a little bit golden, you know. You could broil it a little bit at the end of the 10 or 15 minutes if you like a real crusty top to your lasagna. I don't. I just like it to be, you know, a nice brown, kind of crispy. So that's what I'm going for. And that whole cook time for my oven is about an hour and 10 to an hour and 15 minutes. After you get your lasagna top as brown as you like, you're going to take it out of the oven and you are going to leave it alone. You're just going to put it there to cool for like 15 to 20 minutes. That way it will tighten up and the sauce won't be as, you know, so hot that it's like lava when you cut into it, right? And then once that happens, you can go ahead and eat it. I bought a couple of loaves of French bread to go with it. I might make some garlic butter, just some melted butter in the microwave with a little garlic in there and spread it on there. Or I might not. It just depends. I will definitely show you what it looks like at the end and make sure that the recipe is in the description below. So feel free to ask me any questions if you have questions. I know this was a little chaotic and random as far as me not exactly being ready to film for you, you know, as my life usually is. So sorry guys, I'm trying to improve really. But yeah, so hopefully you'll love this and, you know, use ground beef, ground chicken, ground turkey, whatever you want if you're not a fan of sausage. I use sweet Italian sausage is what I use. I don't know if I said that before, but you can use any sausage you want. Please like the video, share it if you want, and please follow me for more exciting times with me and my cats. Love you all.